Are you sure he can teach her? I don't want to waste any more time. I looked up at Linda, sitting across from me at the desk. She was our team's new supervisor, her face cold and challenging, as if reminding me this wasn't a casual conversation. I gripped my pen, trying to stay calm. I can teach her, but, are you sure this is the best arrangement? Linda smiled, a trace of sharp disdain in her expression. Don't worry. She's here for a promotion. You just need to follow the training plan. The rest is her responsibility. I lowered my gaze to Emily, who was at her computer, holding her notebook, her eyes humble and excited, completely unaware that she was just a pawn on the board. The office air felt thick. I knew that for the next 6 months, my time, experience, and effort would serve as someone else's stepping stone, and I had to stay composed. Over the next few days, I was assigned to mentor Emily. Meeting records, client lists, every project detail, I explained everything patiently. Each time she asked a question, I answered thoroughly, even if it was something I had repeated countless times. I began recording every note she took to ensure she fully understood. Yet, even as I dedicated myself to the training, the office atmosphere grew tense. Linda would whisper to Emily in the hallway, "Remember, he's just your teacher, not your competitor." Every time I passed by, I could feel her eyes, full of disdain and calculation. One morning, I walked into the office and saw Emily organizing her desk. She looked up and smiled at me. "I reviewed what you taught me last night. I feel much better about it." I nodded. "Good, keep it up." Linda stood in the corner, holding a folder, sneering coldly. "Don't get too proud. He's just teaching." The words hit me like a needle to the chest. I had been with the company for 7 years, consistently performing well, always earning top marks in performance reviews. Yet one sentence reminded me that all my efforts were merely making it easier for someone else to replace me. Weeks later, Emily grew more proficient, even contributing ideas in small meetings. I should have felt proud, but every time she spoke, Linda would nod subtly behind me, as if saying, "See? She's learning faster than you." Then one day, I received a call from the boss. "Can you come to my office? I need to discuss something with you." I walked in, and on the desk was a cup of cold coffee. The boss looked up, a trace of discomfort in his eyes. "Emily has performed exceptionally well," he began, his tone carefully neutral. "So we've decided to have her take over the senior account manager position you were pursuing." My heart sank. Her. I could barely believe my ears. I spent 6 months training her, and she hasn't fully mastered the client list. The boss shook his head gently and sighed. "You're too valuable. We need you where you are. She needs a chance to prove herself." I stood in the office, clutching my pen until my knuckles whitened. The world seemed to twist before my eyes. Emily stood at the door, smiling and nodding innocently, as if nothing had happened. And Linda's voice echoed in my mind, "She's just your teacher, not your competitor." At that moment, I realized, I had been used. I returned to my desk, with my colleagues' eyes piercing me like needles. I could only smile and clap, watching Emily's promotion announced. Every smile was a struggle to suppress the urge to smash the desk. A few days later, I sat at my desk, staring at the email list on my screen. My fingers typed slower than usual. Across the office, Emily was organizing files. Her desk was always meticulously neat, almost deliberately so, as if reminding me she had started occupying the space I once had. "Mark, can you help me organize these client files? They need to be done today." She approached, smiling as if she were a longtime friend. I looked up at her, calm but icy. "These were originally my responsibilities. You should handle them yourself." She blinked, shrugged. "The boss said I'm in charge now. You're just the helper." I tightened my grip on my pen and noticed Linda standing at a distance, holding a folder and nodding. I understood she was signaling Emily, to challenge my authority and test my patience. I took a deep breath, organized the files, and handed them over. "Remember, I'm helping you this time only. Next time, it's on you." "Thanks, Mark," Emily said, her innocent smile hiding the fact that this was part of Linda's plan, to make my effort seem expected. That night, I lay in bed, memories of the past 7 years at work flashing through my mind. The first promotion I missed, 2 years in, with excellent performance, when my supervisor said, "You have potential, but the company needs someone more experienced." I nodded, hiding the disappointment that kept me awake that night. The first time a colleague stole my project 3 years ago, I spent an entire quarter preparing a client proposal, and Tom used my data and ideas without permission. The boss praised it publicly. I felt humiliated, barely able to smile. Countless small humiliations, being interrupted in meetings, subtle emails implying I wasn't proactive enough, handling trivial, time-consuming tasks, it all reminded me, "You're just a tool." These memories flooded back, and I realized, I had not been ignored for the first time, nor used for the first time. Every humiliation I had endured, I turned into work motivation, quietly improving my skills, building client relationships, and optimizing processes. Now, Emily's promotion compounded all past injustices with this present betrayal. I thought of Linda's smile, her arrangement, the fact that I was forced to be a training tool. I tapped my fingers on the desk, calculating, anger alone wouldn't restore things. "I can't just endure this anymore," I whispered to myself. The next day, I began quietly collecting evidence. Every instance of Emily copying my work, every task I did that should have been hers, I documented with screenshots and emails. Every project she claimed in meetings, I noted the time, place, and participants. Even her promotion application, I traced through internal public files and email clues. Meanwhile, I continued to act low-key, professional, obedient. Any rash move could expose my plan. I knew in the office, anyone not following the rules would be marked a troublemaker. One afternoon at the coffee machine, Emily came over. "Mark, want to have lunch together? We can discuss the client report too." I nodded and followed her to the break area. A few colleagues were chatting, secretly observing how I handled Emily's request. Emily opened her notebook. "I think we could adjust client assignments to improve efficiency." "This is the plan I suggested before," I said calmly, pointing to her screen. "I can help you understand the execution details." She raised her eyebrows, feigning innocence. "I just wanted to see if your ideas could be presented more clearly. I'll organize them into my own report." I didn't reply immediately but noted the time, meeting participants, and content in my mind. I knew impulsiveness would cost me control. Patience, planning, and evidence were the foundation of my strategy. That week, I worked late every day. By 8 at night, only I and the cleaning staff remained. In the empty meeting room, I compiled 6 months of training notes, Emily's emails, and meeting records. Every detail was labeled with time, source, and participants. I reflected on my 7 years of experience, client lists, project experience, proposal templates, process optimizations, all quietly accumulated strength, all leverage for the power I could now wield. One evening, I ran into Linda in the office hallway. She held Emily's promotion notice. "Are you okay? Seems like you're having a hard time adapting to the changes." I smiled faintly, calm. "I'm adapting quickly." She raised an eyebrow, testing my emotions. Inside, I made a decision, on the surface, compliance, beneath it, every step prepared for retribution. At my desk, I reviewed company policies and complaint procedures, confirming whether Emily's promotion violated rules or involved conflicts of interest. I found several internal policies on promotion and undisclosed relationships, policies no one had dared enforce. I smirked inwardly, everything was under control. Patience, full documentation, and precise execution would reverse the situation. That night, I finished organizing all the materials, staring out into the dark city. Calmly and clearly, I said to myself, this isn't my fault, nor my failure, they underestimated me. Monday morning, I walked into the office with a neat briefcase containing months of evidence, emails showing Emily copying my proposals, meeting minutes, training records, and traces of Linda and the boss's undisclosed relationship. I placed the case on my desk, inhaled deeply, and locked eyes with Linda and Emily. "Mark, what are you doing?" Linda approached, calm but wary. I looked up, steady. "Organizing materials. And submitting these to compliance for a review of your promotion process and internal approvals." Linda froze, face paling. You dare go straight to compliance?" "I do," I replied simply, placing a printed email list in front of her. "Everything clearly shows who did what and why." Emily, pale and gripping her notebook, whispered, "Mark, this could get serious." "Exactly why you don't understand," I said, turning to her. "You were placed here because some people assumed I wouldn't notice. But I noticed everything. Every step is documented." Linda's hands trembled, her voice rising. "This is a threat." "You can't." "Not a threat," I interrupted. "These are facts. Policies clearly prohibit conflicts of interest and undisclosed relationships in promotions. You've broken all of them." The office air froze. Colleagues watched in astonishment, secretly relieved. No one spoke, but my calm authority tightened the room. I opened my notebook and displayed emails and meeting records, one by one. Each click a small shock. Emily had claimed my proposals, Linda's emails instructed her to secure the position, and the boss quietly pushed the promotion. All precisely documented. "You left too many traces," I said calmly. "You underestimated my attention to detail and patience." Emily's eyes welled up. "Mark, I didn't realize." "You didn't, but you participated. This isn't personal, it's a correction of the process." Linda's face turned pale. She clutched the desk edge, knuckles white. "Do you realize the consequences? Senior management will come after you." I smiled faintly, placing a printed policy sheet before her. "These are company rules. Every point is clear, undisclosed relationships and improper approvals are forbidden. My actions ensure compliance, not personal revenge." Her body trembled, her anger fading into helplessness. She finally understood her power over me was gone. I packed the emails and documents and submitted them to compliance, explaining each piece, the timeline, and participants. The compliance manager nodded and followed proper procedure. Days later, the investigation began. Emily was temporarily removed from key responsibilities, Linda and the boss were suspended. The office buzzed with whispers. I continued my work quietly, and colleagues looked at me with newfound respect, not fear, but for calm logic and strategy. A week later, the results were announced. The board stated, Emily's promotion bypassed proper approval procedures and would be reassessed. Linda and the boss resigned due to undisclosed relationships and procedural violations. The company promised improved processes and an independent oversight committee to prevent recurrence. All company emails circulated. I saw Linda's trembling signature acknowledging mistakes and apologizing. The boss tried to defend himself by phone but ultimately fell silent. The superiority he once assumed over me vanished completely. The CEO called. Urgent, apologetic. Mark, the company was wrong. Your abilities and contributions are undeniable. We want you to stay, and we're considering a higher position. I leaned against the window, phone in hand, clear-headed. I stay not for a title, but to ensure the system is fixed. Titles and pay can be negotiated, but rules must be restored, or someone else will be exploited next. I hung up, looking out at the city lights. The office was calm and orderly. I inhaled deeply, holding months of evidence and experience, feeling unprecedented peace. All humiliation, betrayal, and neglect had been transformed into enforceable justice through calm reason and evidence. Weeks later, the company established an independent oversight committee. I became an external consultant, helping improve processes. Emily moved to a new position, more cautious. Former adversaries, Linda and the boss, lost all power. The office regained order. True victory wasn't revenge, it was the restoration of the system. Late at night, I stood alone on the rooftop, overlooking the city lights. Reflecting on 7 years of oppression and shame, I finally understood: patience can be a strategy, accumulation can be power, and action must be decisive at the right moment. This time, I had won not just dignity, but fairness and order. I gently put my phone back in my pocket, resolved: never again will I be underestimated, nor allow anyone to trample rules lightly. Revenge is not for emotion, it is to restore facts and the proper course. The city lights reflected on the glass like a calm yet solid sea. I smiled faintly, knowing I had fully